Welcome to another episode of the Make Mental Health Matter show. I am your host, Kelli Melissa Reinhardt, and I'm very excited to have my guest today back. And we figured out before we went live that it's been almost exactly 2 years from the date you were originally on.
Yes. And that was the show that we recorded in October 2 years ago. That was the first I had ever done of like a very long line of being on podcasts and all that kind of stuff. So you kind of opened that door for me. So yeah, it's kind of fun being back again.
It's so cool. And we're in the studio because the first time we did it virtual, first time we ever met.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about the show is being able to bring back guests and have them share their story where they're at now, because so much has changed since then. So I would love for you to just share with the audience that doesn't know your story a little bit about your story.
Yeah. So August of 2022, my whole world changed. It shattered when my wife died by suicide. And my goodness, that has started a journey, an unexpected journey, obviously, of heartbreak, yes, but a very, very much rewarding healing journey, if you will. I think when we recorded the first episode, that was, a little over a year from that taking place. So I had started my brand, Live, to raise awareness for suicide prevention and mental health awareness, which is also how we met, was through the Health and Fitness Expo that Sandy Griffin put on. And she came over to me and she was like, you have to meet this person. And I think this was within a month of me starting my brand and selling t-shirts and everything. And she brought me over to you and we just had a wonderful conversation. Yeah. And things have kind of just happened from there. But the other thing that happened was being on your episode and realizing how important storytelling is. And from there, I started doing podcasts, sharing my stories on different platforms and books, and just seeing the power behind it. So thank you for opening that door for me. I was so nervous too. I was in the middle of moving. I remember my whole bedroom was empty. I didn't have chairs or anything in there. And I'm sitting on in the corner of the room on the floor recording I was just sitting on the floor. But it was such a great experience. Because it was very casual and I was nervous. I don't know if you could tell how nervous I was. I was very nervous, but it was a great experience. So I appreciate you for that.
Of course. Well, I know I do remember that we talked and you're like, this is the first time I've ever even told my story.
Yes.
And not really sure how it was going to go.
Yeah.
But it was that launching pad and man, the growth. And that's kind of interesting that you had just started your brand because you had so much stuff already.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I came over to your booth, I was like, this is awesome. Yeah. All the things. And there was all the shirts, the buttons, all the things. And I'm like, wow, only a month.
Yes. Because, and we've talked about this before, when I put my mind to something, I make it happen. So once I launched my brand, it's obviously grown from there. And I make all of my stuff. I've dabbled in laser engraving and sublimation, and now I do epoxy and silicone stuff, and I laser engrave that. And it's just absolutely just gotten crazy from there. So
your whole basement now.
Yes. My whole basement is my workshop. It's messy, but it's cool. My space and I make it work.
Yes.
So,
yeah. Well, and I know, the importance of just one, sharing your story, but also the loss of your wife. And then knowing that there's so many people out there that lose their spouses and sometimes you know, and sometimes you don't know. And I know that it was really challenging at that point because you were not at the house or you weren't near her at the time.
Yeah.
And you have what I call the shoulda, coulda, woulda, hoodoo, voodoo, we-doos.
Yeah.
As I try not to live in those anymore. But you have those moments of how could I have done something or all of those things. And then being able to process through all of that as you're sharing your story in all these different ways.
Yeah. It's complicated to say the least. All of those feelings, you can't get trapped in them. It's hard not to sometimes, you know. And I've had people like directly ask me, like, do you feel like you could have done something? Like, and of course, there's always that piece that is going to sit with me. And I feel like a lot of suicide loss survivors, there's always going to be that little piece that, man, had I just been there, had I just said this and not that, or, you know, it's complicated, right? But you can't live in that. And moving forward is a lot of what I focus on now, because unfortunately there's nothing that you can do now,
right?
You know, which is why you can't sit in those moments of, had I just done this and that, because it'll just eat you alive, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just focus on moving forward. My whole thing is preventing other people from feeling the way that I do, or having a loss like this, because it's absolutely, it's tragic. It's the hardest thing that I've ever had to go through, that I continue to go through. It's been 3 years and I miss her.
Yeah.
You know, she was my best friend. It's been an emotional time for me lately. So,
yeah.
I apologize, but
no, you're good. There's no need to apologize at all whatsoever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are just so many obviously complicated feelings surrounding it. So, but moving forward, obviously, you know, I had somebody reach out to me recently, who lost his wife. He saw my episode on Unfiltered Stories, and he reached out to me and he just shared his entire story, which again is what I'm all about, is sharing, connecting with other human beings who have similar losses, because no loss is the same as somebody else's. Yeah. But just being able to relate to different components of it. So he reached out and just shared with me his entire story, and we've kept in contact, and it's just been an empowering experience, because I realize how important it is to share these moments with other human beings, which I do through platforms like this. And I guess I don't have a favorite. I want to say my favorite. It's not really my favorite, but vendor events is just where that happens so much. And I'm always so surprised by people when they come into my booth and they just share their loss or their struggles, or it's just that human connection with other people who are familiar with those feelings is just, it's indescribable, really. It's very powerful. And I think that's what a lot of people are missing, is that human connection component with each other's stories, which is why we're here to talk about mental health and our stories and everything.
Yeah.
You know, so it's been a ride for sure, to say the least. It's my brand, and connecting with other human beings, and storytelling, and writing a book, and all these things are just a huge, huge component to my healing journey. And that's what helps me kind of move forward and keep going.
Yeah. I think you also said a really good point of, like, it's not something that you get over, right? Yeah. You learn certain coping mechanisms, and you're very much like me, is like the go. Yes. You know, like, just keep going, just keep going, just keep going.
My therapist has a word for it.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Maybe, a little bit of avoidance in there, maybe a little bit, but it's always good to program in some time to, for those emotions to come out too. But anyways,
yes, no, but it is, I mean, it is something though that, like, these feelings just, like, random, like, I'm going into year 9 next year will be, and it's still those moments that randomly, right, like, in the middle of a grocery store, or waking up, or just seeing something on TV that you're like, really, like, or hearing or hearing a song or whatever it is. But I think the important part is that you never get over it, right? Like, but it is something that you can move through, and you can also find amazing communities that help support you. You, like, vendor events, I think just those, like, communities are phenomenal. And that's, I mean, very similar. And we do a lot of this, not same, but similar vendor events.
Yeah.
And it's like the people that step into the booth that want to share their story, or they're like, I'm alive because of, and you're like,
yes, it's a depthness to it that that is just, gosh, it's indescribable, right? But it's nice to see that human component, that human aspect in other individuals, because we're so surface level all the time. You know, we're small talk. You know, how's it going? Great. You know, it's like, you know, we're so used to that. So when somebody walks into the booth and they start crying, I mean, I don't know how many times that has happened. Because they just have that moment of humanness that happens. And when you can really see each other and that pain or sadness or moment of reflection, whatever it may be in that moment, it's just, it's on a different level for sure, which continues to fuel what I do. Like, it's those moments. And I've had really like small vendor events where I have one connection, you know, and I have a connection every vendor event, at least one. And even the small ones, I'll have like this moment where I'm like, that just made this entire thing worth it, you know, and that's what continues to like fuel that inspiration in me to keep doing what I do. Yeah.
I know. And it's hard. Like, I know, not this year, but last year was the first year that we both did Pride, but you were on one side, I was on the other side.
Yeah.
But we did our Warrior for Mental Health papers.
Yes.
So we had people fill them out. That was the very first time that we're like, we should have people fill something out.
Yeah.
And the amount of them that we got, I was like shocked. So now we take those to every vendor event. We allow people to just share like a small amount of their story, but then once they hand it back to you, what I like to ask is, oh, it looks like there's a story there. Would you mind sharing?
Yes.
And I think people, at least for my booth, as they walk in and they're like, ooh, mental health, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to get some resources, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then it's like that depth part of like, oh, wait, you do more stuff.
Yeah.
So, and your brand is very, because it live and it has the semicolon in it. Yeah. Share with the audience, what does a semicolon mean? Because some people don't know.
Yes, I'm actually going to update my website. Because a lot of people don't know. But so the semicolon has been used in suicide prevention awareness as a symbol to keep going or continue your story, or like pause and keep going, much as how an author uses it. So it's been around, I think 2013-ish, Project Semicolon, from a woman whose father died by suicide. So that was kind of her way of honoring him and using the semicolon for suicide prevention.
Yeah.
So,
and she unfortunately took her life.
Yes, she did. Yeah, a few years ago, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's the perfect symbol. It's very fitting. And I think it's genuinely helped a lot of people, just the semicolon in general. When Project Semicolon started, I don't know if she knows how many lives she has saved from it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I have people all the time show me their tattoos.
Oh yeah,
of a semicolon.
I know, that's what whenever I walk up, they're like, "Oh, I have one," and then we compare. You know, it's like they compare. You're like, "Oh yes," and then they're like, "Oh wait, you have a whole bunch of them."
Yes,
and I actually had a friend reach out, and they're like, "Oh, I just found out what the semicolon meant," and they're like, "You probably already know, but did you know about that?" And I'm like, yes, I know. But a lot of people don't. So I think it's important for anybody, if you see a semicolon, there's probably a meaning behind it, whether it's in a tattoo or it is in, and I often, because our Warrior for Mental Health have the semicolon, and they're like, you spelled that wrong. And I was like, no. There's a purpose. Yeah. Or the people that know, they're like, I see it. Yeah. So it is definitely one of those that it's like hidden, but it's visible. And
I almost appreciate it more when people ask about it, because it happens so often. And then they just they really don't know what to say afterwards, but they always appreciate it. You know, there's an awareness there. And yeah, it's just, I have people ask about it all the time, and it almost means more to me when people ask than, so it's interesting.
Right. And it's okay to ask if you don't know.
Please ask. Yeah. Like, yeah. And plus, just ask anyways. I don't know.
Right. I always say that with stories too, is that you can share what you want to. And if somebody asks you, like, I know you and I are very open books.
Yes.
Not everybody is like us, but most people will tell you a good chunk of their story. Yeah. The other part is don't be ashamed or don't worry about asking. Yeah. Feel free. I mean, with most people that have lost somebody, they ultimately want to share their story.
Want to talk about it. I have had one missed opportunity, and I will never forget this couple. And I did a kiosk in the mall a couple of years ago around Thanksgiving, Christmas time. And I just remember this young couple, they saw my brand, they stopped. I remember them talking with each other, and then they started crying. And they came over, they bought a couple products, and I should have asked. And I didn't ask. And I actually posted on Facebook on my business page later about it. Like, just, it was a missed opportunity to ask somebody if they were willing to share their story. And I will never do that again. I remember I have asked every time I get the opportunity anyways to, like, if it's for somebody to, you know, if they don't mind sharing their story. Yeah. Because that was definitely a missed opportunity on my part.
I remember you telling me that too.
Yes.
Yes.
Like, oh, yes. Yeah. I still talk about it. I think about it every once in a while. Like, man, I wish I knew their story. Of course, that they're comfortable with it. But I've just had so many experiences. Like, I had an older gentleman, probably 60s. I had just a pop-up somewhere, and he came up and he shared about his brother who took his life, like a couple decades ago, 2 or 3 decades ago. Wow. And I was the first person he had ever told.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He hadn't told his kids, his, you know, other people in his family. But it was the first time he had ever shared it. And that's just, that's also something that obviously sits with me, like the power behind it, like people seeing the brand. I mean, I created my brand to strike conversation, for people to talk. And it absolutely, I mean, it warms my heart to hear not just people share their stories when they see my brand, but other people when they wear my brand, like having people share with them. You know, I had somebody recently, a huge supporter, Lion. This is a shout out to you. He wears my hat all the time. Nice. He wears one of my hats all the time. And he actually had that experience recently of somebody sharing their story with him, and he was just blown away. And he shared that experience, and it was just, it continues to fuel that fire in me to continue doing what I do. Yeah,
and then now you got to get branded like I am.
Yeah, I know. I'm working on it. Believe me, I am working on it.
I know. Every time I walk, people like sit there and look at my arms, and I'm like, you can look. Yes, it's okay. Yes, right. Yeah. It is though. I'm like, I'm like, I have that thought of like always be branded when I'm walking out of the house, but then I'm like, I am
you
always.
Are. You're branded no matter what. Right. I know. Yes. It's like where, you know, right. Like I've thought about the whole like back of the neck, like putting my brand on the back of my neck. You know, which is cool. It's a reminder to people. They don't have to be awkward about it when they see it, you know, like, you know, whatever, like they can just see it, whatever. But yeah, just it's positioning. I'm like, where do I put it in?
You got some area.
I do have some free space.
Yeah. We're gonna go to our quick first sponsor break, but once we get back, I have some other thoughts that pop into my head as they often do. Yeah. So we'll be right back after this quick sponsored break.
Have you ever felt completely alone?
Like your life doesn't matter.
One person dies due to suicide every 40 seconds.
You are not alone. Call the National Suicide Lifeline at 988.
Hope and recovery is possible.
1 in 8 people globally live with a mental disorder.
That's why empowering minds saves lives.
We need your help.
With only $19 a month, you help us save lives through mental health and suicide prevention education.
Scan the QR code or go to makementalhealthmatter.org to sign up as a warrior for mental health today.
And like that, we're back. I have a commercial in there that doesn't work. That's okay. We'll figure that out later. Welcome back to the Make Mental Health Matter show. If you're watching or listening, we greatly appreciate you. The point of the Make Mental Health Matter show is to bring people resources, people's stories, those that have been through certain experiences to you as the audience or listener, watcher, whichever. Wherever you are tuning in. So thank you for being here. And Alicia is my guest for today, actually coming back 2 years, almost exactly,
yeah.
From the first time she came on my show, which was super, super fun.
Yeah.
It was also the very first time that she was able to share her story about the loss of her wife and just talking about suicide in general, but then also creating this incredible brand. And luckily, by fate, right, we were at the same vendor events. And she came over to mine and I went over to hers. And then it was probably like a year went by and I'm like, we need to do something. And then we saw each other at other events and I'm like, we need to do something. Yeah. We've talked for lots and lots of years.
Yeah.
Like,
I know
how to collaborate.
Yeah.
But we finally this year we're like, okay, we need to talk.
Yeah.
And one of the cool parts is that she's starting to do so I should move this out of the way, but we have combined the Love Life and her Live. So this is, I'm like, it's a mess. I got a fuzzy. But Love Life and Live together, which is so much fun. And then we have different sayings that are on the back. We did a collaboration this year for Pride. So there's, which you've probably seen if you've watched the show. I've worn my Be Kind. I think I wore my Human. I'll have to, every single time I wear the Human, people love it. They're like, oh my gosh. They're like, we are humans. And I was like, yes, we are.
Yes.
So just trying to like be out there and show people that they're not alone, but also we are all human. We all have experiences. We also need to be kind to each other. And we're in the works of a program, possible collaboration. So we won't talk about that yet. You'll have to come back after. But I would love for you to share with the audience just more about like the brand itself. Like, what do you actually have? I know there's a lot, but like, what is the Choose to Live brand?
So, I have so much. So when I started out, I'll share that piece of my story. It was April 23, trying to figure out what I want to do. I was a personal trainer at the time, and I started incorporating a lot of mental health into my brand, or not my brand, but into personal training people. And just, I enjoyed it so much, like combining physical and mental health. So that's how the idea of me wanting to do something bigger kind of branched from. And then that's when I came up Live with the semicolon. And then I was like, what am I going to do with this? I was like, I think I want to put it on t-shirts because I feel like people will see it more when it's out there. Like, people are wearing my shirts. How cool would that be, for the suicide prevention and mental health awareness portion? So I taught myself how to screen print. Right. I was like, I want to do this. If I do this, I want to do this on my own. I want to do everything myself. So I taught myself to screen print. So I started making t-shirts, and that was the beginning. That's when we saw each other at the vendor event. That's kind of how it started. And also 10% of my proceeds goes to Pikes Suicide Prevention Partnership. And I've been able to raise over $5,500 for them in the last couple of years. Which has been amazing. So since then, it's just gotten so big. I have, I'm doing all the apparel, the hoodies, the the tank tops. I do mugs. I do, yes. He made these mugs.
She did these mugs for me. Yes.
Keychains. I mean, all the little things that you can think of that kind of just spread that awareness, that message. And not everything. I've learned over time, like not everything has to have my brand slapped on it, right?
Right.
And that's something we've talked about. It's like the Be Kind shirts and the human shirts. It's like it's not about like branding everything. It's about the message at the end of it all. So, I have an online shop. I have a little shop down in Colorado Springs at Painted Tree. My goodness. I've started a podcast myself for the queer community, Queer in Here, Let's Talk Mental Health, just to kind of get people to talk about mental health. So I have mental health professionals on there and storytellers, just people that want to share. That's on a pause right now, coming back in spring of 2026. But it's just another avenue for spreading the message of getting people to talk about mental health, because that's what it's all about at the end of the day. And, it's such a different journey. So I call this my new normal. Before my wife died by suicide is my old normal. And I'm a completely different person than I used to be, especially when it comes to talking about mental health, because I was one of those, I'm really tough and I can get through anything myself. I'm independent. I was like always one of those people. I don't want to burden people with my troubles or my thoughts or anything like that. And I'm just a completely different person now, advocating for talking and sharing my story, and reducing that stigma is just the biggest piece behind it. So let's sit down and dirty.
Do you think that the toughness came from the military background?
I think it came from some childhood trauma mixed in, because I didn't have a very motherly mom. She was a borderline narcissist. So it was always about her. She left when I was 11. And then that's kind of when I went through my troubled years and started drinking and all the things. And I just I didn't talk to anybody ever. I tried to get through life taking care of myself, which wasn't very healthy. It's not healthy. I went through all the drinking stuff. I'm sober now for 5 years. Yes. I stopped a couple times before and it never stuck. And this is the longest that I've ever stayed sober. And I think the military was also a component, because I was in special forces. I was a lot of the times the only female. So I kind of had to rep in that degree. I always had to put on a brave face, tough face. I had to beat the guys, or at least kind of prove myself as a female a lot of the times. So I think all of that was huge. And that's not real life. I want to say, right? It's not real life.
I mean, in a way, women and men are always competitive.
Yes.
For the most part. But when you're the only female in special forces, it just adds a whole nother component.
Yep. A lot of pressure just to take care of myself and do my own thing. That's been my entire life up until I was 36 when my wife died by suicide. And, it just absolutely changed. It's unfortunate. It's one of those fortunate, unfortunate things. It's the worst thing that could ever happen. I'm not the worst thing. That's my own opinion. It's the worst thing that's ever happened to me.
Yes.
I feel like I've become a better person because of it, even though it's absolutely tragic and I would do anything for her to come back, you still take it day by day. Like you said, you never know when it's going to hit. That grief, it just comes out of nowhere sometimes. And you just kind of move through it. But having a purpose is really what keeps me going, and just helping other people, and just being kind to each other and treating each other like human beings.
Yes, exactly. Well, and I think I loved what you said was the before and the after, right? Because it's so true of like, I think with any loss is that we search for that person that we were.
Yeah.
And I guess we could also say that like with relationships, like, in general.
Yeah.
Cause we're like, I was this person.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get this person back. But after a loss that is tragic and so abrupt, it's like, I know for me, I was so naive. Like I just felt really naive. I didn't know how to help my sister. I didn't know how to help myself. Like, but we went through multiple attempts and like, I feel like I was so young then, and then everything shifted, right? Like, and not that I would ever want my sister to die, but I also like, I stepped into a whole different human. Like this human today is like so different from where I was then. And I think it's that like thirst for knowledge of like understanding, but also some of us take that and shift it, like both of us did. It was we shift it into goodness, or ways to help other people. Because I know I've always said, I'm like, even if I reach one person at a time, I don't want somebody to have to go through what we did. Unfortunately, I cannot stop everything, but it also, when we can bring all of us together, we make a ripple effect. Right. And I think that's the important part, is just knowing that we can be different humans and it's okay to have that before and the after. And sometimes some of us step into better humans than we were before. And then sometimes the opposite happens too. So everybody's experience is different. The loss of suicide is never an easy one to go through. I think it is reassuring, at least for those of us that are survivors, to know that we're not alone and that there are other people out there that have stories that we can all share. And knowing that we have, it's like this like community that you don't want to be a part of, but you unfortunately are a part of the community. So, you know, it happens, and sometimes we can save people's lives and sometimes we can't, and it's not our fault if somebody dies by suicide. So I think that's an important message. But we're gonna go to our last sponsor break, and then once we get back, we'll chat some more. So we'll be right back after this quick sponsor break.
1,917 people die daily from suicide globally.
I lost my middle sister, Carrie, to a completed suicide on February 20th, 2017.
How does Kelli, host of the Make Mental Health Matter show, impact lives?
Number 1. Awareness.
My story, however, it isn't unique. I am a domestic violence survivor and a recovering addict. For 14 years, I was in active addiction. And because of Kelli and the work that she does and the opportunity to have my voice heard, I was able to stay clean and sober and have hit a year. I'm still here. And if it wasn't for Kelli answering my call the day that I thought I was going to take my life.
2. Conversation.
I'm curious, and I know that I've heard a lot in the BIPOC community, it is very hush-hush. It's like one of those things that you don't talk about. Like, you literally feel like it's not a conversation you can have. So can you talk a little bit more about that?
First, shout out to Kelli, because I'm glad that she asked the question. I researched you before I went on your show, and I saw how real and authentic you were. And I just appreciate the question, because it is different and we have to have tough, courageous conversations. So yes, I always say I'm a triple diversity threat. I'm a Black woman with multiple disabilities. Now, I'm not really a threat, but to other people, I may be, because people fear the unknown and what they're uncomfortable with.
Number 3. Education.
Kelli's passionate commitment to mental health awareness is a beautiful thing. It's clear in her social media posts, it's clear in the resources that she puts together, in the activities that she provides, her collaboration with organizations, and the consistent way that she continues to deliver a message, encouraging people to understand that they can share openly and to break the stigma around mental health. Kelli's topics cover children and adults, talk about things that we can do as a community, things that we can do individually. And her website is packed with information and resources and all kinds of contacts that you can use to reach out, whether you're dealing with something yourself or you're looking to help somebody else who is struggling. I encourage you to check it out.
And like that, we're back again. If you're just tuning in to the Make Mental Health Matter show, you need to go back and watch the whole beginning of this. So Alicia and I are having a wonderful conversation about really her story, the loss of her wife, also being in military, childhood trauma, and also creating an amazing brand that she shares with the world. So it seemed like you had something you wanted to say before we went to break.
I know, and now I forgot.
That's okay. It'll come back.
We were talking about old normal, new normal. We started off the conversation kind of talking about things that we think about, like that we wish we could have done.
Yes.
And one of the things that I have had a lot of growth in is just being able to not just talk to people about mental health, but the trainings involved in mental health, the mental health first aid, QPR, and the assist training that are all geared towards how to talk to people about. And when I was taking those trainings and learning, there are times where it came up like, man, had I just treated this differently, but the trainings were so, inspiring at the same time. Because I was like, okay, now I have these tools that I didn't have before. I wish I had before, and again, we are where we are now, right? But genuinely feeling like I can handle situations better, just being able to talk about mental health, or if they're having a mental health crisis, just knowing what to do in those situations. So, and that's something that I like to talk about a lot, is the trainings that I've been through and letting people know, like mental health first aid, QPR, which is question, persuade, refer, assist, applied suicide intervention, skills techniques. All of those trainings are available to anybody. You don't have to be a healthcare person. You don't have to be a teacher or a first responder or anything like that. It is for everybody. And I encourage everybody to look into those trainings all the time.
Yeah.
Because you just learn so much, and just that confidence that you can get from it. Because there are definitely people like within my community after my wife passed away that were around that didn't know how to talk to me,
right.
So,
still probably.
Yeah,
still. A little bit, yeah.
Probably because they just don't know what to say, and that's okay. Yeah. And at the beginning, it was just, and even now, sometimes just having a human being with you, can make all the difference. Like, you don't have to say anything.
Yeah.
For me, that just having somebody with me was enough. But I know at the same time they were like thinking like, what do I say? What do I do? Like, I don't know. And that's okay. That's okay too. Cause I don't fault people for not knowing what to do or what to say. Just having a human being there was enough for me. But you could definitely tell those individuals, within the community, my community, like people who were comfortable with like talking or asking questions and stuff, and those who were absolutely not.
Oh, right.
And that's okay.
Yeah, that's okay. No, it is. I mean, so because mental health first aid was the very first one I ever learned about.
Yeah.
And I actually had a friend, because my sister was a CPR instructor.
Okay.
And so I wanted to do something in the healthcare space, but I wasn't really sure. Mm-hmm. And I had a friend walk up to me and she's like, do you know what mental health first aid is? And I was like, no, but I need to. Yeah. Right. I was like, what is that? And that was the first one we ever started in 2018.
Yeah.
I saw the value in that. And then, so I was like, well, I want to be a trainer.
Yeah.
So I jumped in with the youth, adults assisting youth.
Yeah.
And then about a year later, I got my adult.
Yeah.
And then about a year later, I got my teen.
Yeah.
But then the assist, I had heard about it actually at that event we were at. So I was right next to another nonprofit.
Yes.
And her and I had talked about mental health first aid. And she's like, have you heard of assist? And I was like, no. She's like, I like it way better. And I was like, really? So I heard about it, but I didn't actually do anything until last year. So last year it kind of came back up into everything.
Yeah.
And I found actually Westminster was doing a free training through the schools.
Okay.
And I ended up going and I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
Yes.
So like I do.
Yes.
I jump in and become a trainer for that.
Like I do.
Yeah, like I do, but it is, I always say, especially with assist, is I like people to be more in a healing space. If you have had a loss, or maybe you're an attempt survivor, to be a little bit more in a healing space before you take that class. Just because, I mean, when I went in, I was like, oh, we're talking about suicide. Like, this is what we're doing. And I was like, here we are talking about it. But I think I love it. Although it's a 2-day training, as a trainer, it is a lot, but it is so impactful. Just the people that have walked away from that training. And I have only taught 3 times so far, but, and I know eventually we're going to get Alicia trained in it too.
It will happen.
But as we start to add people, QPR is also another one that I want to add to the lineup eventually. And that one's more, they can like self-paced, which is pretty cool. And it's a very shortened version, but I also believe that there's so much when you're in a class and you're longer. And I think I love assist because we talk about our ideas of suicide. So it's more of what are my beliefs about it? What are your beliefs about it? And then we come together as a group to like figure out why, or what are the things that kind of persuade us to think about those beliefs. Like, it just makes you think in different ways about suicide.
There's definitely some of the best training that I've had. All 3 of those courses are fantastic. I think the mental health first aid is 1 day, and then QPR is a couple of hours. And then of course the assist is really immersive for 2 days. And it's just being in that environment and being able to talk with, a group of individuals about suicide. It's definitely eye-opening, and just it makes you more comfortable with the topic, talking about it, because that's the real issue at hand, right? Is people not wanting to talk about suicide. I mean, it's just, or mental health struggles and stuff like that. So being in that environment is just, it's very eye-opening, especially to hear other people's stories and their take on it, or their beliefs, or whatever it may be. It's just a very rewarding experience.
I mean, training is always beneficial. So Make Mental Health Matter does all of those classes other than QPR right now, but we will be adding it eventually. There's another couple trainings that Living Works, which does assist, that they offer that we've kind of been looking at. But I also know, so I'm, because I don't do enough. But I'm part of 2 different task force. One with Douglas County. It's a suicide prevention task force with Douglas County. And then also the maternal task force with CDPHE. I'm the right acronyms. And it's interesting because the conversations that we have had is, so CDPHE, and this is kind of, I don't know, they have a whole database on their website that shows like everything as related to suicide. And I know that we don't have those conversations enough, which was what you were kind of saying. But it also, in the mental health space, we talk a lot about not talking about the means or how somebody, right? But we were just shown in one of the last Douglas County ones, like the whole database, and they like break it all out. And I was like, aren't we contributing to the problem by making this public? Anyway, so that was a whole conversation that we had. And I was like, we need to start having more conversations, but also sharing with people like the words to use, how we should or shouldn't talk about suicide. I also know that, and I love, thank you, Google, for making all the filters so that people can't have access to like showing how, but it also makes it really hard for my nonprofit and other nonprofits that are just suicide based, because you can't put that word anywhere because it doesn't want to like put it in any of the algorithms or anything. So I've had to be very creative in the ways that I say things now.
I've noticed that with social media, and it's quite frustrating, to say the least, because when you have a positive message or you're wanting to get a message out there that's impactful about mental health or suicide, and it's being filtered out. It's a little frustrating, but yes, you have to kind of skirt it a little bit.
Yeah.
And figure out how to work around.
My next adventure, maybe.
Yes.
I want to.
Oh my gosh.
I know, right? I actually do want to create, because I've heard it so often that people can't find support groups for just suicide loss survivors.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that would be a really great place to
Let's do
add
this.
something. Yeah.
Let's do it.
Okay. I'm like,
Here you
I'm gonna rope her into all the stuff that I do.
Our brains combined.
Yes.
I'm just saying.
You'll have to come back to the
Yes.
next episode after we have our whole conversation. Yes.
Yes.
So, but I just think that sharing stories, being able to express what you have experienced, allowing people to know that they're not alone in what they're going through, having the messages on the t-shirts, that like gives me chills, but being able to like wear different items that you can express to others, and whether they want to ask you about your story or not. I think it's just a really great space that you have created. And so I honor you and being able to come back on 2 years, almost to the exact time. Yes. That was cool. I was like, perfect time.
Yeah.
But I want you to share any last thoughts, and then also make sure you share where people can find all of your stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Last thoughts. This one's always a tough one. I mean, kind of, because we talked about it a lot, right? I always want to encourage people to share and not be embarrassed or shameful about whatever it is they're going through, or if they've lost somebody to suicide. There's so much shame and embarrassment that can be attached to that, which is something that we're trying to fix, or I don't want to say fix, but change. Yes, thank you. Change. There you go. Is just getting people to talk and the power behind it. I feel like this is always my lasting thoughts because it's just so important to express, to be able to share your story. I can't encourage it enough. I know that, and I'm sure you have as well. Every time I share my story on whatever platform, I always get comments or emails, messages, anything like that have thanked me for sharing, and that it has inspired them in some way to do the same. And that's something that every person can take with them as they're sharing their story, right? Is the desire to hopefully inspire somebody else to share whatever story that may be. So speak up, ask for help. That's a big one, of course, that we're also trying to change, is to not be afraid to ask for help. There's more power and strength in asking for help than there is weakness. So ask for help, share, talk, do all of those things. So you can find myself at choosetolive.org. And then I'm on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Instagram is choosetolive.org, all spelled out. And then you can just search Live the brand on Facebook. And on TikTok, I'm Alicia's Healing Journey. Nice. So yeah, check it out. My podcast is queerinhere.com. I have a lot of great stories on there. I think I have over 20 episodes on there right now that are just all very different, all different backgrounds, all different stories. And that's been one of the things that I love the most about it. It's just been so different every episode. So yeah, that's all the things.
And I know, I'm pretty sure you did an episode specifically, or you went on TV. There was something, but, and I totally forgot to wrap it back around. There was a thought that had popped into my head, but 988 for queer youth, we had a ton of people come into our booth this year at Pride. So Alicia and I did a booth together this year, and we had a ton of youth come in and ask because they felt like they were just getting left. And they weren't getting recognized anymore with that portion of 988 being shut down. So I know we don't have a ton of time to talk about that specifically. But I know you did an episode and a TV show, right?
So I did, well, I was interviewed for a news channel.
Okay.
But yes, Trevor Project has been working on that and making sure that their lines are open for youth who are looking for help or are having a mental health crisis. So Trevor Project is just, they're doing their best to help that group that is in very much need right now, is our queer youth. So Trevor Project, please check them out, help support them, because they're doing their best to help facilitate that line of that helpline, if you will, for our youth, because it's very unfortunate that was taken away, especially as one of the groups that is has the highest suicide rates. So Trevor Project, please check them out.
You have not been forgotten, I promise. You can still utilize 988. There's just not that option, the specific option. But Trevor Project is trying to keep that alive. So make sure that you find them and support them. And sorry, I wanted to wrap that in really quickly because I was like, I forgot about that.
It's a very important topic. So
yes. And if you have when you have a moment, go check out Choose to Live. That's CHOOSETOLIVE.org. And check out the cool, I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. If you haven't seen the Make Mental Health Matter, and then my shirt, you gotta see my shirt. So no matter what you do, that one too, that's another one that's on there. Talk about it. So whatever you do, make sure you come back next week. I have another amazing guest. But I hope this was valuable for those of you that have had a loss to suicide. We see you. We know that you are not alone and that there are lots and lots of resources. There's lots of education if you're one of those people like us that want to get educated and just learn how to help others and even help ourselves, because that's really truly at this point, again, it's kind of like the old you and the new you and the new life that we're living, which includes grief and loss and figuring it out, because that's what we do. Yes,
we're figuring it out.
Figuring it out every single day. It's a different figure out. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you next week. Bye, y'all.